Where people go wrong is they want the content creation to be their biggest business growth driver. I personally think if you've sold your offer 3 times at least, you should be using ads. It's the fastest way. It's the most consistent way. It's the best way for you to be in control of that growth. Consistency is the magic, like the boring work. And most people are not willing to do that. I'm telling you, if you are an entrepreneur willing to do that and willing to consistently show up, you will win. Embodied CEOs don't chase trends. They pave the way. They lead from within, moved by purpose, unshaken by noise. When you are the source, you do not need permission. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I hope you guys are having an amazing week. A great summer so far. I think we just hit, right? It was just summer solstice. So we are halfway through the year. Isn't that what that means? I think so. Or halfway through the summer. I should know that. But I hope you guys are having a good summer, mixing it with memories, mixing it with getting stuff done in your business. I feel like my life right now, I was having this thought the other day, is like I am going like 100 miles an hour when I'm in business mode. And then, or my goal is I've got to move at that pace right now because I just have so much happening in my current company, building a new company. And when I then am with my kids and my family, I want to be going like 10 miles an hour. So that's my goal. I want to be hustling and in build mode. I'm very much in build mode. Like for the first time ever, I worked late at night the other day because I was just inspired. I just wanted to create. I wanted to build. It feels good. I think sometimes being back in that energy is a good thing. And then you just don't stay there. You ebb and flow out of it. But then when I'm with my kids and it's summer, I want to be going 10 miles an hour and not rushing and creating memories. So every day is a journey to be finding that balance and finding those 2 different speeds that I am working on every day and working towards, and sometimes doing it and sometimes messing up. And it's definitely a dance, right? Because sometimes I feel like the business needs more of me and I wasn't able to put more in because that's all I could do today, literally. And then sometimes I'm like, I didn't do enough over here with my family and with my kids and I wasn't present enough. I talked about that actually last week on the podcast. Anyways, today I want to talk about a concept that I was thinking on. I was thinking, you know, what marketing strategy and marketing tips could I give you guys? I've been giving you business stuff but I haven't talked a specific marketing thing. And so this idea came to me today to share and kind of break down a way to look at your strategy and a way to have 2 main goals and initiatives that you're working on in your business and define those. I think everyone should have basically a short-term, it's making the business money, it's bringing in consistent leads and sales strategy. And then a slow burn, I'm investing resources, time, energy, and money into this, knowing it's going to take time to pay off. Because some of the best things in business, some of the most impactful strategies are that slow burn. They take a little while to start working. And there are many entrepreneurs who are not patient enough to invest in that time and energy. And so just a different way to be looking at your marketing strategy and kind of ask yourself, like if I was sitting down with you and I was like, let's define your short-term strategy with your long-term slow burn strategy. And are we allocating resources to both? Or are we in survival mode as a business going, where's my next sale coming from? And that's all I'm focused on. And I'm kind of reacting to the fact that I'm not hitting my sales goals or whatever. So let me share with you what mine looks like when you were to say this. Because I was thinking about, okay, what's working really well for us in our marketing? How do I relay that in a way that I haven't necessarily said here before? And then try it into what would be relevant for you. So that's what I want to talk about. So if I look at my marketing, one of my goals is always consistency. It's always, are we growing the email list every single day? Are we getting for us calls booked consistently? Are we making sales every week? That is critical to the health of my business and cash flow and the way things are going. Then it's, what are we investing in that may not pay off tomorrow, next week, or even next month, but we know is going to pay off in the long run. So for me, the short-term strategy right now that we've been running since February is a weekly live webinar. And we've been doing this with me, with a handful of clients. And it's really allowing us to combine the consistency that is required in a business, right? So getting the leads every single day into this funnel. And those leads may not even convert in that very first webinar, but they might convert in 2, 3, 4 webinars or in a live launch that I invite them to. So it checks the box of consistent growth. I get consistent leads, consistent calls, and consistent sales as that being the primary funnel that is coming in on. So in terms of resources, every week we look at the data. We look at the cost per lead, we look at the show up rate, we look at the call conversion rate, we look at the sales conversion rate, we look at how many sales, the return on ad spend. It's primarily being driven by ads because we're getting new people in there every week. We don't want to tire the list out with it. And so we do that, and then we go, okay, what are levers that we can pull that improve those numbers? And if we have show up rates start dropping, we implement more text messages, or I just added a really cool live show up bonus to the webinar. So we're taking those immediate actions that impact our immediate results when it comes to the main strategy that is growing the business month over month in terms of new clients. So we're really clear and we're so dialed in and we're so focused on the actions and the initiatives that we can take based on that funnel, okay? So that's my consistency. And so for all of you, it's a matter of what do I have that is going to consistently grow my list and drive those leads to a sale. And you need that daily. Like that's the goal. A healthy business is growing their list every single day. Because if you're not, you are actually not growing, right? Because naturally on an email list or any, following, social media, whatever, you're going to be losing followers. You're going to be losing, people are going to unsubscribe. They're going to become unengaged. So if you're not growing at a net positive, technically you're shrinking. That can't happen in a business. And so when you look at your business and you're like, okay, I'm not making consistent sales, you got to backtrack and go, well, am I bringing in consistent leads? And if I'm not bringing in consistent leads, then of course I'm not going to be getting consistent sales. If you are bringing in consistent leads and they're not converting, you got to figure out that. Because while a huge percentage of your leads are not going to convert initially upon finding you, some will. Like I have people every week right now find my weekly webinar as the very first thing that they've ever seen of mine, book a call and buy our offer. It is possible. Now it's 1% of the leads. It's not a huge amount of them. And so what am I doing with the rest of those leads? So that's the way I look at my marketing is like, this is the main driver. And every week, every month, every quarter, what is our focus to just make that better? Bring more people into it, convert higher, keep the numbers up, and ultimately scale the ad spend because it's profitable. It's actually highly profitable for me right now. Then on the flip side, I go, okay, what is the thing that I'm building this year? And what am I focused on that is more of a slow burn, a consistency game? And I'm not actually focused on and obsessed over the metrics. Like with my live webinar funnel, I'm obsessed over the metrics. Every single week, it's like, what was my conversion rate on the webinar? It's a game for me. How many people were on? How many did I convert to a call? Did I beat last week's? Okay, the traffic quality matters, the way that I presented the webinar, my energy that day, all that really matters and plays a part in the conversion. So I'm obsessed over those metrics and I make real-time decisions to optimize that funnel. And I expect the immediate return from that. That is a realistic expectation that I have from that funnel because that's its purpose in my business. Then I have the other side, which is the slow burn strategy. And I'm not obsessed over the metrics. The main metric for me there is actually consistency and a commitment to trusting the process and refining and optimizing the process. And for me right now, that's content. So this year, I've talked about this on the podcast, this year, one of my two big intentions was number one, really investing in my team, getting a new office and building an in-person team. And I've been doing that, and that's been a huge focus, and it is paying off massively. I'm obsessed with the in-person team. Number two, my big focus was content because I went and I experienced a big brand and I saw the impact that media can have. And I heard a big player in the content game say, if I knew the output that the result that just creating content would create for me and being able to find talent to work for me, just that outcome, I would have done this years ago. And to me, what that speaks to is the level of brand credibility, authority, and visibility that you can build with content. And to be honest with you, my position on content changed a year ago when I experienced this, because I used to say, like, you don't need any organic content. You don't have to create it, because if you have ads, they're working for you. They're growing your business. And that is true. I see ads and your funnel as that immediate ROI, that consistency that you can count on because you can control it a lot better. You can control who you target. You can control how much you spend. You can control how much traffic you get in. Once you have things predictable, it's like, it's very controllable. It's like buttons, right? And you really are in the driver's seat with it. Organic, on the other hand, is a different game. You can't really control how your post does. It's very weird. The algorithm, how it favors things and how it shows one post like half the amount of people to another. Sometimes you get a post that takes off and it's like not the quality audience that you'd want. Sometimes it is, right? You are in a lot less control when it comes to organic. However, I see content creation as a slow burn. And so personally, I was just having this conversation with a team member. Like, when I look at my brand and I look at where I want to go, let's say over the next 5 years, I want to continue to grow my impact, to grow my voice, to grow my reach, and build a brand that can have a New York Times best-selling book, that can have bigger events, bigger impact, that I could be in a city and say, hey, we're going to meet up in this spot and have a significant amount of people show up. That can only come by a large reach, which the number that you measure with that is really followers, but like engaged followers. So when you look at these bigger brands, they have millions of people across platforms that consume what? Their content. So I see my content as that slow burn. It's building the brand. It's not necessarily paying the bills in terms of an immediate ROI. It's really hard to track. I don't know. Because I don't know if someone sees my ad, they follow me, they see content, and that helps with them purchasing from a webinar. It's really hard to know that for sure, but I know it's part of my ecosystem. I am committed. I've got an expense that I spend every month on it, and that is for my content person. I'm committed to a frequency, and it's like, no matter what, that's the strategy. And then we get better and we refine what we post based on the feedback from how the content does. And I mean, it's such a fun, fascinating experience, because we'll put content out there and I'm like, oh, this is gonna crush. And then that one doesn't do as well. Then I put another thing out there and that one crushes. And I'm like, what do I know? So it's fun to experience that. But what I'm trying to get at is, I don't obsess over how the content does. Yes, I want it to do well. Yes, do we take, especially my content manager, we take the top content and we use that to drive the other content that we create. But I'm not saying, okay, we didn't get 3 clients from this exact strategy, so therefore it's not profitable, so I'm not going to keep doing it anymore. It's a slow burn. I know it's a slow burn. I know I need to commit to this frequency and duration of creating content to build the bigger brand that I'm building. So that investment in the resources in my business has a completely different mindset than my weekly webinar. And both are taking financial resources, both are taking time and energy, but they are serving a different purpose. And I really think like building your overall brand, building your place in the market and your authority really only can come from time. And most people are not patient enough for that. And most people don't understand how big of an impact that is. And when I look at most 7-figure companies, which is a lot of people's goals, right? They have been around for at least 3 years. I would say at least 3 years. Some a lot longer. And when you look at people, that looks like something happened overnight. When you take this example of Jessie Jean, who did the YAP challenge, I talked about in the last podcast episode, not indirectly breaking it down, but you look at her, she has been in business for a decade. She has pivoted her business and she's pivoted who she's helping and how she's talking about it, but she is not new to business. She is not new to creating content. She's not new to her voice. She is not new to those skills, which the only way to develop them is time. The only way for you to get better at creating content, for you to get better at talking to your ideal customer, better at understanding their needs and their wants and the way they speak and the way they communicate what they want and how you can position your offer and all those things, the only way to get better at it is to put in the reps. And so that's where I have really seen and changed my perspective on content. Because like I said, I used to say you don't need it. And do you have to have it? No. But now when I tell people who come into our programs where we're building funnels and we're going to launch their ads, and the primary way they're going to grow their business is through ads. It's through having a lead generation funnel live, bringing leads in from that funnel, and counting on ads for that initial growth. I tell them also to complement what we're doing, I want you to create content. And I want you to look at it through the pure purpose of if you go create a piece of content every day for the next 30 days, there is a 100% chance that you will be better at creating content, at talking to your ideal customer, at articulating your ideas and articulating your messaging. 100% chance that you would get better at that. Just like working out. And that's how I see content is like, I commit to a frequency, I commit to the process, and I trust the process. I trust that if I show up, I will get better, right? If I work out for 30 days, for the next 30 days, and I move my body, there's a 100% chance that I will be more fit in 30 days. Same thing with content creation. Where people go wrong is they want the content creation to be their biggest business growth driver. And so they go create the content, they put the time into it. Maybe they're new at it, so it takes them a really long time. And they're putting this energy into it. And it's not growing their business how they want. It's not getting the traction how they want. And so they give up on it. It's perspective. Because if you look at it and you say, no, it is doing what I want. Because by doing that, I'm getting better at doing it. And the thing is, like, I forget who I want to quote on this, but it's like, if your content isn't doing well, then you're not creating good enough content, you know? And that's like something that I say to myself. Like when I look at a creator and I say my content isn't doing as well as theirs, it's because I haven't put in enough reps. I need to get better at it. I need to build the brand bigger. You know, that is a piece of it too. Like the bigger your brand, the bigger the credibility, the bigger the community that you've built, the better your content's going to do. And how do you get there? It takes time. It takes time. It takes putting in the reps. It takes consistent commitment. You got to find the level that you're at. My point in all this being, what is the immediate return strategy for you? How are you going to pay the bills? How are you going to make money for your business? How are you going to generate leads and sales every single week? You need that strategy. I personally think if you've sold your offer 3 times at least, you should be using ads. It's the fastest way. It's the most consistent way. It's the best way for you to be in control of that growth. And then on the flip side, what is the slow burn? Where are you investing intentional energy, intentional resources to grow your business, knowing it's not going to pay off right away, but if you do this for a year, it will absolutely pay off. And it will pay off probably in ways that you can't even imagine yet. That's how I see content. And I'm, when did we start? April, May. I'm 2.5 months in and I see payoff. My account has grown. My visibility has grown. I'm sure that there's ROI. It's hard to track exactly. I don't care, actually. Like, I just want to create the best content. I want to get better at creating content. I want to improve my process with my content manager. I want to get more convicted. I want to understand what people respond to. I want to understand the algorithm better. That's how I look at it. And then I have other strategies and other things that are the immediate return that I need. But I know if my 3 to 5 year plan from right now is to grow to an 8-figure company, let's say in 3 years to an 8-figure company, that's 100% doable. Hopefully less than that. But if my plan is to grow to that level of impact that I'm talking about, I have to put in the reps to do that. It's not going to happen overnight. I cannot become the size of the Hermosis or Cody Sanchez or Dan Martell overnight. I have to put in the reps for years. And I think that is such an underrated part of business, part of life. Like if I also bring in the analogy of fitness and I look at a CrossFitter who's very good, they have probably a decade of experience. And there are athletes who work out way less than I do and are way better than me because they have put in years of work. And the only way for me to even come close to catching them is put in the work, time, reps. Like it takes the time to build the skills, to build the muscle, to build the conditioning. And I think that's just so underrated. Like people don't understand in some strategies, consistency is the goal. Consistency is the magic. You know, Alex Hormozi does talk about this a lot, like the boring work. And most people are not willing to do that. I'm telling you, if you are an entrepreneur willing to do that and willing to consistently show up, you will win because you're going to learn through the process and you are going to figure out what works and what doesn't through the process. And when you pull out, if you were to pull anybody successful that you follow, any 7-figure business, I'm telling you, like, I bet it's very rare that you could find a 7-figure business that they built to 7 figures in a year and they didn't have some sort of background. Like I'm building a new company. My goal is that it's at 7 figures in a year. And I know we're going to hit that, but I have 10 years of business experience. So that's possible. Could I have done that 10 years ago in my first year of business? Probably not. I didn't have the reps. I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the experience. I didn't have the brand. I didn't have the impact. I didn't have the voice. I didn't have all those things. Those things take time. And we are sold this lie in the online space that it's overnight. And that you should be able to launch a funnel and in 90 days it is profitable. And that can happen. You can have a profitable funnel, but having the 7-figure business or even the 6-figure business that you want, it might take time. It's going to take time. It's going to take longer than others. But if you're committed to the process, this is where marketing always works. It's just a matter of when is truly something I believe. Because if you are committed to the process and you are relentless with that, you will be successful. Most people give up. Most people hit roadblocks. Most people hit challenges. Most people don't get the sales that they want. Most people get rejected. Most people feel defeated and they give up. Or they completely pivot and they start from square one and they blame the economy, the algorithm, the coach, whatever. When really it's just a matter of like, did you show up enough? It's that simple. So I wanted you to think of your marketing this way. What's the short-term, consistent leads and sales you need to be a healthy, profitable business? What is that strategy? In my opinion, it should be ads. It should be a funnel that you run ads to in every single day because you have control over that. If I fully counted on organic to grow my business, it would not be doing well. Like it would not be. I wouldn't have consistency. I could not generate the leads right now organically that I need to grow my business. And then where are you investing your time for the slow burn, to put in the reps, to build for the next 3 years? To understand you only have to know what you have to do in this area tomorrow and this month. Like, I don't know where my content is going to take me. I don't know where this podcast will evolve. I don't know where my social media content will evolve to. I'm allowing the process and the feedback in the process to dictate that. But I do know that I'm going to be consistent. And I do know that I don't actually care, not that I don't pay attention to, but I'm not attached to the numbers and the results around this because my goal is consistency. I am attached to my webinar funnels numbers because I know where those need to be for my business to be healthy. I know I can get to those numbers. So I am very focused on those. Those numbers drive the actions. I pay attention to the numbers in my content. I have goals around podcast downloads. I have goals around social media growth. If I don't hit that goal, does that mean I'm going to stop doing it? No. I'm going to keep doing it and I'm going to trust the process is allowing that to happen. All right. Hopefully you guys found this helpful. I would sit down, I would ask yourself this question. And of course, let me throw out there, if you don't have the marketing strategy that is consistent, the lead generation, maybe it's a weekly live webinar. We've been building a lot of those for clients and have a system around that where the ads keep running, you update the date on the page. There's a lot to with the replay and the way you set that up. If you go to helpmystrategy.com, you can apply to work with us to get that implemented in your business. We even have our scale program, which is if you're not ready for full done for you, we implement the lead gen, we implement the live launch, we launch the ads, we create the ads for you. So you have this system and then you are supporting that system by creating content. And I guide you through that in the program. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Have a beautiful rest of your week, and I'll talk to you next week.